It's Friday, the 11th of January, and by popular demand, it's time for a campfire update. The Butte County fire that started on 8 November 2018 that turned out to be the deadliest wildfire in California history. My name's Juan Brown, and you're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. Right now, with the president and Senate Democrats quibbling over $5 billion to build a wall, losses here in California have topped over $30 billion from last year's wildfires alone. Much of that cost may very well be attributed to and passed on to PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, the power provider here in California. The potential fallout from this is huge. Pacific Gas and Electric is on the verge of bankruptcy or preparing for bankruptcy. Nobody is sure which way this is going to go. And the effects of this potential bankruptcy is having a ripple effect throughout the entire equity and bonds market across the United States. The state of California has a newly elected governor, Governor Gavin Newsom from San Francisco, and a supermajority of Democrats in the Assembly. So which way this is going to go is anybody's guess, but one thing is probably for certain, the cost of living in California is going to continue to increase, furthering what I call, or accelerating what I call, California's unsustainable legacy, continuing to put the squeeze on the middle class living in California. So let's go up in the mighty Luscombe. We'll do a counterclockwise tour again over the Paradise, the town of Paradise that was so heavily devastated by the fire, with some footage I took on 28 December. One of the things with aerial footage over the Paradise fire, as opposed to coverage of Oroville, a story I could get my arms all the way wrapped around, and at Oroville there were almost daily changes you could see from the air. Covering the Paradise fire, you're not going to see a lot of changes from the air as time goes on. But we can still use this historic archival aerial footage over the town of Paradise to use as a backdrop so I can give you an update on some of the many issues that folks are working on in the aftermath of the campfire.
And oil pressure. There she is. Nevada County traffic, Luscombe 71608, departing 25 to the northwest, Nevada County. Breeze is out of the north and west today. RPM looks good.
It was a bumpy day for flying, but crystal clear conditions, giving the GoPro Karma gyro stabilizer stick a good workout. So I want to start this tour at the end, heading south, approaching the Paradise Airport. Here's where we can see our biggest change from the air. The airport is nearly empty once again, and the power is back on in Paradise. A very important first step before repopulation. Not long after the fire, the Paradise Airport was used as a main staging area for utility crews to stage all their men and equipment and do the massive effort of restoring power to the entire area, stringing thousands of miles of wire, replacing thousands of poles, and getting the power back on to the entire area by December 19th. This also included thousands of timbermen that had to get the trees out of the way to make way for the power lines. And getting all this work done while working under the duress and uncertainty of the parent company potentially going bankrupt. Having worked through bankruptcy myself in the airline industry, I know that's very stressful working conditions. So hats off to the hardworking crews, linemen, timbermen, boots on the ground folks that got the power restored to the entire area in such a short amount of time after the campfire. Breaking news as of today, 14 January, it's official, PG&E will be declaring bankruptcy on or about the 29th of January, meeting the 15-day requirement to announce bankruptcy ahead of time. Even though the investigation is incomplete, PG&E realizes that bankruptcy is their only way out, and this is a huge fallout from the campfire. Remember, last year the California State Legislature legislated a bailout package for PG&E to pass some of these expenses on to the customers, but that was the last straw, and there are now no more straws left for PG&E to come back to the state legislature for further bailouts. Last year's bailout was primarily for the Sonoma County fires that PG&E was blamed for and had a limit as to the amount of liability and did not include any fires in the future, including this campfire. Remember, too, PG&E went through a bankruptcy reorganization back in 2001, and a 3-year reorganization procedure followed. Many of the executives at PG&E will be leaving as a result of this bankruptcy as they rearrange the deck chairs, including the CEO, Geisha Williams, age 57, a Cuban-American who's been CEO since 2009. Like most corporate bankruptcies, as I witnessed in the airline industry, Ms. Williams will be walking away with a severance package worth between $2 and $4.5 million. She also has a $3.1 million pension and was paid over $8.6 million in compensation, mostly in company stock, for just 2017 alone. These two parts of her compensation may very well be lost due to the bankruptcy. This is all from PG&E's proxy statement and Bloomberg News. So where does this leave the rest of us? For now, the lights will remain on in California. I don't believe PG&E will be coming back to the state legislature for additional bailout money. And PG&E pensioners, so far, they're saying they will not be affected by this bankruptcy. However, if I were a PG&E pensioner, I would be researching the PBGC, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, check the limits of the liability of that policy to see if your PG&E pension will be covered by the limits of the PBGC, just in case. This is a hard lesson we learned in the airline industry. In the mighty Luscombe here, we're proceeding north up the west branch of the Feather River, looking northwest towards Pence Road. Meanwhile, the hard work of rebuilding paradise on the ground continues. Phase 1, the removal of toxic waste, is nearly halfway done. Phase 2 of the rebuild process is set to begin around January 28th. Phase 2 is where state contractors will enter your property once you've signed a right of entry form and will remove all the remains of any burned structures all the way down to below the foundation, and including about 4 to 6 inches of dirt off of your property, and then test the property that it's contamination free. Yet to be decided is the highly contentious issue of where to transfer the hazardous waste. Passing under the strut of the mighty Luscombe now is the Feather River Adventist Health Hospital, where Nurse Dean Strait and all the faculty members safely evacuated all their patients during the day of the fire. Nurse Dean has 2 more interviews lined up as he continues to seek employment in the health industry after the fire and the closing of this hospital. If you haven't already, be sure and check out Dean's interview of the day of the fire. Only a small portion of the Feather River Hospital has reopened the health center, lab, and imaging. In fact, quite a few businesses in the Paradise area that did not get destroyed during the fire have since reopened. Here we're looking back towards the east, towards Concow, and the source of the fire up there in the Feather River Canyon off the right wingtip. Getting water service restored to the Paradise area falls primarily under the jurisdiction of the PID, the Paradise Irrigation District. The source for this water, I believe, is the Paradise Reservoir and the Magalia Reservoirs, both located to the north of the town of Paradise. Right now, folks are still being asked to use bottled water only, as the concern is from prior wildfire experience, the plastic lines that convey the water may have melted in some cases and released some benzene into the system. So the folks at PID are slowly restoring water pressure throughout the system and extensively testing the water throughout the system for any benzene. The PID wants to remind you to not try to treat the water yourself. Boiling the water or disinfecting it does not help. How long it'll take to completely repair the lines and flush the system out is yet to be determined. Now we're headed west, crossing over Skyway, and we'll make a turn to the south and parallel Skyway Boulevard to the south in the mighty Luscombe. Approaching the left wing strut is the mobile home park on Kilcrease Court that was nearly completely destroyed. Located, ironically, right next to Butte County Fire Station 35, there in the trees. Remember, there was absolutely nothing anybody could do the day this fire broke out other than escape. You can see my previous updates for the cause of the fire and the nature of the fire the day that it happened. In political news, our newly elected governor, Gavin Newsom, on his first day in office right here in Colfax, California, announced additional funding for the fighting and prevention of wildfires in California. The state of California already has a $1 billion 5-year forest management budget in place, and Governor Newsom added an additional $105 million for next year's budget. This additional $105 million proposed by Governor Newsom will include 5 new Conservation Corps crews, 13 new fire engines, more investing in helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft, good news for the air tanker industry, $25 million for local governments to help battle wildfires, and $25 million to upgrade the state's antiquated analog 911 emergency telephone system. By the 8th of January, the newly elected governor was already in a Twitter battle with the president when Governor Newsom posted a tweet criticizing the president for his government shutdown and handling of the border wall. President Trump responded with this tweet, threatening to pull federal funding, which I assume is FEMA money. None of which is productive or even makes much sense. Remember, most forest land in California is federally owned forest land. As we continue south down Skyline Boulevard, you can see many of the business buildings that were not destroyed. Many of those have since reopened. So I'll continue to provide updates on the campfire as time and conditions permit. Covering this story takes a lot more time than any other story I've done, as you got to gather information from a lot of different sources. And one particular source I would highly recommend is the local small-town newspaper, the Paradise Post, that lost their office in the fire and has since reopened in the Chico area. A handful of woefully underpaid small-town reporters are doing a great job of keeping everybody updated as best they can as to what's going on in the rebuilding of Paradise, Concow, and those areas affected by the Camp Fire. See you here.